Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of Harbor Access Investor Relations, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from MustGrow Biologics Corporation. Please note you can submit questions in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Corey Jasson, President and CEO of MustGrow Biologics Corporation, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol MGROF and on the TSXV under the symbol MGRO. Welcome, Corey.
Great, thank you. Pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to present to you today MustGrow Biologics Corp. We're an ag biotech company based in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And what we have is patented technology surrounding the mustard seed. We extract compounds from that seed that can be brought back together and formed into biocontrol products or soil amendment, biofertility products to help farmers grow crops sustainably. This technology, you eat it when you have mustard. If you have yellow mustard or oriental mustard or say wasabi, the wasabi that we have here in North America is crushed mustard seed and food coloring. So if you have too much of it and you start to get sweat or your eyes start watering, well, that's the active ingredient AITC being released to your mouth, and that would be the active ingredient in our biocontrol product. Before I begin, I'd like to draw your attention to our disclaimer. It's your typical forward-looking statement disclaimer that there is forward-looking statements in this presentation, and this presentation can be read also on our website at mustgrow.ca. So what are we trying to solve here at MustGrow? We're trying to help farmers grow crops sustainably. And the number one thing every farmer cares about is growing a crop, maximizing their yield and their return. And to do so, they need to protect these crops from unwanted pests and diseases. Just how are they going to do that in the future when some of the chemistries or the synthetic fertilizers are being banned or deregistered? They need to protect those crops with natural products, and that's what we're bringing to the table. We're the technology company. We have about 84 issued and pending patents, one of which is a license from the University of Idaho, utilizing our active compound AITC as a potato sprout inhibitor. Very tight capital structure, as mentioned, listed on the TSX Venture, 50 million shares outstanding, 54 million fully diluted. And of that, about 19% is management owned. We have enough cash on hand to get us through the next few years and hopefully into sales. And I should mention too, we're very excited about the news release that we issued yesterday, indicating that we obtained our first registration for our soil amendment product. The markets that we're looking to enter, soil amendment and biofertility, will help farmers build up their soil. Biocontrol, help farmers fight off the pests and diseases and weeds in field. And then on the post-harvest food preservation side, to help produce not spoil as quickly. And where we're working on the post-harvest side would be with Janssen PMP, a division of J&J. On the biocontrol side, we're working with Nexus Bioag here in Canada on two important crops in Canada, canola and pulse crops. And then with Bayer and Sumitomo Corporation, we're working in the rest of the world with them on the biocontrol side as well. So it's all about sustainable agriculture and food security. How are we going to feed a growing population with a finite amount of arable land when some of these chemistries are being banned and deregistered? And I could probably have about 5 slides of this, examples of chemistries that have been banned or are under increasing regulation. This is an example here, CPIC, chloropham, recently banned in Europe. CPIC had been used for 60 plus years to help farmers prevent sprouting of stored potatoes. Potatoes need to be stored for up to 9 months. It's a very important crop globally, and they sprout. In fact, when I seem to bring them home, they seem to be sprouting, within 2 weeks or so. So this particular chemical was banned. They don't have very good options for preventing those potatoes from sprouting, and we, as I mentioned, licensed a patent from the University of Idaho that utilizes our active ingredient from mustard, AITC, allyl isothiocyanate, as a potato sprout inhibitor, and we're very excited about doing tests and work on that with Janssen PMP going forward. So jurisdictions countries are increasingly putting more regulation on the chemistries and fertilizers being used. And this is an example in the EU. Again, it seems to start in the EU and branch out from there. But they have an organic action plan by 2030 to have 25% of their acres as organic acres. And that's a lot of land that won't get synthetic chemicals or synthetic fertilizers. Companies such as Syngenta and our partners are starting to move to more natural and sustainable solutions to replace some of the chemistries that they have on the shelves that are being banned or deregistered. And it's all about food production. It's a massive industry on the fertilizer and chemical side. By 2030, they're estimating that market to be about $325 billion of annual sales. On the biological market, it's about $35 billion at that time. But the thing is that the biologic, the biofertility and biocontrol side is growing at a CAGR of about 10% plus, and that is to replace the banned or synthetic chemicals or fertilizers. So what are we bringing to the table here? It's a unique technology in the fact that it's natural, it's organic, you eat it when you have mustard, as I mentioned, but it has the efficacy of that of synthetic chemistries. And that's really unheard of in the biological space. And in fact, I grew up on a farm in southwest Saskatchewan, and I know what farmers are going to be looking for. First and foremost, it needs to work. Or if it doesn't work, they're not going to be buying it and investing that particular product for their fields. It needs to be economic. And that's what we're looking at, is the economics of this technology versus synthetic chemical pricing. It is economic, and it can generate a very healthy margin. Scalable. How do we produce it? Can mustard be grown anywhere around the world? Yes, it can, and our extracts can be produced with readily usable equipment that's available around the world. Is it flexible? Is a farmer going to have to change what they do? No, they're not. They're going to be able to apply this product just like they would any other synthetic chemistry, whether it be through spray, drip line, injection, what have you. From a regulatory standpoint, it provides positive soil health, which is actually very important for farmers too. They want to build up their soil for yields this year and in the future. And it's got low environmental impact, which is very important from a regulatory standpoint. And most importantly, it's effective and efficient. It's targeted. We target this particular compound right at the pests when needed. And then also with our soil amendment product, we help build up the soil and the soil microbiome, which is very important. So our product pipeline here, we've got some areas that are near-term production or commercialization, and some things that are further out on the R&D and trial side. So a lot of our work over the years has been on the biocontrol side, treating the diseases such as Fusarium, Pythium, diseases in the soil that you can't see that would negatively affect yields. Not just diseases, I should also mention nematodes. Parasitic worms that will sit there and chew the roots of these plants so that they don't yield as well as they should. The product that we're looking to bring forward here is Terra MG, which is in liquid form. It's an extract from the mustard seed to help treat these diseases and pests. And we've shown results over 150 trials that we've done with independent researchers throughout North America here that shows that it is just as effective as some of the chemistries being banned or deregistered. In terms of our partners, we're partnered with Bayer and Sumitomo globally, and with Nexus Bioag here in Canada on pulse crops. And 2.5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to say that, and we were able to go global with these players to test in other countries around the world to make sure that Terra MG is utilized around the world. Our extracts also provide proteins that help feed the soil microbiome, and that's Terra Sante, where we just received OMRI certification a few weeks ago, and we just announced yesterday our first registration in Washington State. Now going forward, we hope to find more registrations throughout the US, working with bioag production strategies. Basically, we're going to be focusing on the high value crops and potatoes. If you take a look at the US and go down the western seaboard, across the southern states, and then up, Florida and north of that will be our focus of the states that we're be looking for registration of this soil amendment product. A little bit farther out would be the post-harvest biocontrol and food preservation side. A couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been able to say that that our technology would work in this area. It was a blue sky idea, but working with Janison PMP, one of the foremost experts in the world in terms of providing products to the market to help with food preservation and help with produce to not be spoiled. Over $1 trillion of produce annually is lost due to spoilage, and what a great way for sustainable agriculture if you can prolong the life of strawberries or apples or what have you. And the work that they're doing, we've expanded out the work that they're doing. We're quite excited about what we're seeing, and it is earlier stage though, and a lot more heavy lifting is going to be needed. On the biofertilizer side, we basically take our soil amendment technology and we want to incorporate other organic fertilizers so that we can change the NPK ratio or the micronutrient ratio of the soil amendment product to fit a farmer's need in a particular jurisdiction that they're in, or the whatever soil that they need. So we are going to be assessing that. We haven't done any work there yet. So I guess, 2.5 years ago, we went global. And we set these partnerships up from the point of view is that we knew that these companies would want to test this technology. And what we did was sign up exclusive field trials periods for them to go and test this technology. We could have done this ourselves. It would have cost us tens of millions of dollars to do. We would have had to have R&D teams, regulatory teams in each country, just like these companies have. And we would have had to take a look. We would have done these results. It would have taken decades to do, and we would have taken them to, say, any partner that we have here, say Bayer in Asia, and we would have showed Bayer the results, and Bayer would have said, those results are very interesting. We want to test now on our own because we need to verify your results. So basically what we've allowed them to do is test drive the car, for instance, before there's a commercial agreement in place. Let them test the product, feel the product, incorporate it into their systems, and we've had some great success there. We've had over 2 years of field trials, and now the question is how do partners such as these or other partners get access to this technology on a commercial basis? There's lots of options for commercialization. It could be a licensing type of agreement where there's an upfront milestone payments and potentially a royalty thereafter, a buy and supply type of arrangement where we're supplying them the product and they're paying a margin on that. Distribution type of arrangement. That would be what we'd probably be looking for with Nexus Bioag here in Canada, because they are a large distribution company of chemicals, fertilizers, and biologics to Western Canadian farmers. And there's a lot of different options here, and I think of this as a large Rubik's Cube. It could be on a country-by-country basis, a crop-by-crop basis, an application-by-application basis. So whatever we feel is going to generate the most value for our shareholders, we will be looking to do here. And with successful field trials, the discussion of commercialization it has started. So what happens when we do have a registered product, which we now have with TerraSante, which we're looking to initially start on our own and get initial sales on our own, going direct to farmers or retailers through bioag strategies. How do we get this product? How do we produce the product? Well, we did our first commercial production test this past spring. We did our pilot scale facility with a contract manufacturer here in Canada. We've done other productions in Europe as well, but we've identified toll manufacturers or contract manufacturers that can produce initially for us. The estimated capacity here in Canada would be about 1 to 2 million liters of Terra MG equivalent annually. And at a grower level revenue, that potentially at synthetic chemical pricings on a per acre basis, that could generate about $15 to $30 million annually of retail level sales. The margin, you can see there, about 60 to 70%, and that would just be on a fraction of our targeted acres, about 0.05% of our targeted acres. Actionable, this facility potentially could be expanded out, and you can see what happens to the numbers from there. But what I find most interesting about this company, other than the technology and its agriculture and all that, but is that we're not going to have to raise a lot of capital to get initial sales and potentially positive cash flows, and that makes me excited as a shareholder of this company. That means our share structure is going to remain tight. 50 million shares outstanding, 54 million fully diluted, and with a very strong cash position of about 38 million Canadian on hand, enough capital for the next few years for us to get initial sales, potentially positive cash flows. And you have to remember, our partners are spending the money on our behalf to get this technology through R&D and registration work globally in that. So we're quite excited about where we're at here right now. Our share price, along with other companies in this space, has declined over the last year or so. But that being said, I believe that we've done nothing but create value in this company over this time. And you can see these yellow boxes here. We've signed up partnerships. We did not have a partnership with Bayer 2 years ago. Same with Sumitomo Corporation. We've signed these partnerships up. They've seen expansions of these partnerships, particularly Sumitomo. They've exercised their option to continue on their exclusive basis of field trials. We've uplisted to the TSX Venture Exchange. We've moved into the soil amendment and biofertility market. That increased the size of the sandbox, a rapidly growing area that is increasing. And we've done our initial production test. We didn't have to go and spend $500,000 or $1 million on a pilot facility. We were able to do commercial level testing this past spring, and that commercial level production test is enough product for us to sell in 2024 for our soil amendment product TerraSante into the US. So we've got our initial product already produced. And I should admit, as you can see it there at the end, organic certification is in hand, and also registration on our first state, Washington State, is in hand, which I was not able to add to this presentation because we just announced it yesterday. Our team, we've got a very strong team. It's a small team, but with a lot of experience. My background is agriculture and business. I started off at Potash Corp back in the day, the largest fertilizer company in the world. I left Potash Corp to pursue my entrepreneurial spirit and join junior company called Anglo Potash. We had a joint venture with BHP Billiton, and BHP acquired us in 2008, and they're now looking to build the largest potash mine in the world here in Saskatchewan. I've done numerous startups since then, and my interest really is on starting companies, taking them to a certain level, and then passing them on to the expertise such as the large players in the industry, such as BHP. Colin Bletzky is our Chief Operating Officer. He comes from the agriculture space as well. I spent 10 years at Syngenta and another 10 years at Novozymes. At Novozymes, he was the head of BioAg globally, and he looked at numerous biological companies and products, purchased a few of them with Novozymes, and with his expertise in this industry is key to our company. It's key to the relationships that we've been able to develop with Bayer, Sumitomo Corporation, etc. And it's quite interesting. The agriculture chemical industry is quite small, and he's got a lot of connections and a lot of know-how in the biological space. So we're quite pleased that Colin is part of our team. Todd Lottie, our CFO, I've done numerous deals with Todd over the years. He's done about $2.5 billion in transactions. He was previous CEO of MCN Bioproducts, and now that company there basically took canola seed and extracted compounds from that canola seed, the proteins from that canola seed, so that it could be used for animal feed. MCN in 2012 was purchased by Bunge. Now the inventor of that extraction process is Dr. Dave Maines, our production advisor. Now, Dr. Dave Maines is one of the foremost experts in the world in terms of extractions from oil seeds, and canola and mustard are two oil seeds that are sister seeds. So the extraction process that we have for our technology comes from what they've learned from the MCN process and from what Dr. Dave Maines knows about extraction from oil seeds. So the in-house expertise, the know-how of our production is through Dr. Maines. I also mentioned Dr. Matt Mora from the University of Idaho. We licensed his patent that utilizes AITC as a potato sprout inhibitor. Dr. Mora spent a career researching biopesticides specifically from mustard or brassica plants. And we knew our technology worked, but we didn't know why or how. And bringing Dr. Mora on is a tremendous amount of experience that he has been great. So what I'll do is stop the presentation at this time, and I look forward to taking any of your questions. Yeah, so the first question is does Terra MG or TerraSante get washed into adjacent waterways or stay in the soil? Great question. When I mentioned earlier that it has very low environmental impact, what I mean by that is, first of all, the half-life for the active ingredient in Terra MG, AITC, is very short. It's about 48 to 72 hours. And then you can't even detect it. It's basically, it's done its job and then just turns into simple sugars or what have you in the soil. The other thing about the active ingredient AITC, it's got a very low water solubility, meaning it will not end up being washed away into the adjacent waterways and that. So great question. So the next question is that we recently received registration for Terra Sante in Washington State. That is true. How long will it take to receive this certifications in other states? Good question. Hard to say. I'm hopeful that within the next quarter or so we'll start to see more registrations in other states. But again, that would be me guessing on regulatory agencies and governments, and that's a very hard thing to do and guess. But we're very excited about Washington, and we're hopeful that the other states will follow shortly thereafter. Yeah, so the Fusarium wilt researching. So we made some progress. So there's a disease called Fusarium wilt TR4. It's a strain of Fusarium that's affecting the Cavendish banana. Now, the Cavendish banana is one of the top growing bananas globally. Banana is one of the #1 crops traded globally. It's a very important crop for nutrition globally around the world. But with Fusarium wilt TR4, it's affecting these banana plantations to the point where that if they get that disease in their plantation, they will not be able to grow bananas. And it's a very, bananas is a very valuable crop, about $25,000 to $50,000 US annually in sales on a per acre basis. We've done testing on Fusarium wilt TR4 in Colombia in lab, and we've seen some positive results where we had some control of that particular disease, which is really unheard of. There was even synthetic chemistries weren't even being effective. Since we've partnered with Sumitomo Corporation, they've undertaken that particular part of the research, and it's still an objective, but I will say that we have not been able to get approval for more testing in that. So we are looking forward to continuing on that research, doing more testing and getting a solution for these banana plantations. But their focus has been in other areas, I will say. Our next question is, who are our competitors? And what I will say is the biological space, there's lots. You get different types of products out there, microbials, other different things. The one thing that I will say is that we are unique given our efficacy. We have similar type of control to synthetic chemistries, and we've done testing head-to-head on synthetic chemistries, and some of our partners are doing the same. That's really unheard of in the biological space. So I don't consider other biological products to be competitors. I consider synthetic chemistries to be competitors. And when they're being banned or deregistered in certain jurisdictions, all of a sudden we don't have a lot of competitors. Now, that being said, we're not the silver bullet. We think we're going to be able to be applied in an integrated program with multiple different products that a farmer can use, and we'll just be one tool in the toolbox. The next question is, how much waste is produced in the manufacturing process, or does 100% of the raw material cost turn into commercial product? That's a great question. There is no waste. So yeah, 100% of the raw material costs turn into commercial products. So you'll see those, the oil that we remove from the seed will end up either in the feed industry or the biodiesel industry. And the leftover meal, the fibers or what have you, will end up in the feed industry as well. It's actually turns into a very good feed product. Yeah, next question. Besides the management, do we have other major shareholders? Yes, we do. We do have some major shareholders. I'd say about 70% of our 50 million shares outstanding are within very tight hands. And I could probably count on two hands, 10 different areas where that stock would sit. So there are some major shareholders, and it's very tightly held. Yeah, so our major partnerships to move forward. When should we expect to see a commercial agreement with, say, any of our partners that we have? great question. What I will say is that, testing has been ongoing here for the last 2 years, and we continue to do testing with these players around the world. The question now is, how do they get access to it commercially? So discussions are always ongoing in that. So it's hard for me to say when that will happen. But again, we've identified that it works in certain jurisdictions. We've identified a path to registration in certain jurisdictions. Now the question is how do we get it commercialized and into the market? And I'd say those discussions are ongoing, not just with our partners, but with numerous groups around the world. Yeah, can I provide some more color around the IP portfolio? Yeah, so we've got 84 issued and pending patents. Our portfolio is extensive. It involves the product used in combination and in application in that. In terms of the production, that would be more on the trade secret side as well. Have studies been made to the effects on pollinating insects? Great question. Yeah, no, we have not done studies on pollinating insects, but the thing with our technology is that we do not apply it when pollinators are out. The technology would be applied pre-plant in soil prior to about 14 days, 7 days prior to growing a crop. So the effect on pollinating insects should be minimal. In addition, I will say, as mustard's been used as a cover crop for generations, whereby a farmer will grow that crop up, put fertilizer, fuel, what have you, to growing that crop. They'll let it grow, takes about 60 days, it'll turn to seed, they'll mow it, and then till it into the soil. And then cross their fingers and hope that those active compounds that create AITC get together and are formed. It's a very inefficient way to apply a natural product, in that only about 1% of the available AITC is actually converted, and you have to hit it just at the right time. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's already being used. What we're bringing together is a more efficient, targeted version of it, so that a farmer's not going to have to waste inputs or what have you on growing that crop, and then they can be assured that 100% of the AITC is applied directly at target when needed. And that would be for our biocontrol product. I guess that's the end of the questions. Is there any more, or? I think we've got them covered. I'd like to thank everybody for their questions, and you can reach us at any time. Our contact information is at mustgrow.ca. Happy to discuss, and thank you very much for your interest in MustGrow.